It's Jahji.
What's going on, guys? It's Jahji here, and today we're going to be reacting to every MLB season of the 2010s. So I consider myself an avid MLB follower since 2010. So this is my initial decade introduction into the MLB. So I think this is going to be an interesting watch. So let's get right into it. I'm not even going to talk too much.
The 2010 MLB season was an instant statistical shift from the previous decade. Offense cratered. League-wide batting average dropped to 257, the lowest since 1992. Runs per game fell to 4.4, another 18-year low. This was dubbed the year of the pitcher for a reason. The season
Off rip, one of the first things I did when I became an MLB fan was I bought MLB 10 the show. And the first thing I remember was them specifically talking about pitchers dominating the league at that time. I think it was Steven Strasburg who was debuting at the time. Everybody was making a big, it was a lot of hype around him because he was like the prototypical pitcher of the time.
season kicked off with fireworks, but not the offensive kind. Ubaldo Jimenez threw a no-hitter in April, Dallas Braden threw a perfect game on Mother's Day, and Roy Halladay, he tossed a perfect game in May, then followed it up with a playoff no-hitter in October, becoming just the second pitcher ever to do that on his way to the NL Cy Young, making it official that 2010 was his year. Over in the AL, Felix Hernandez captured Cy Young honors too, posting a ridiculous 2.27 ERA despite the Mariners barely winning any games behind him. The Rays, Yankees, and Twins all posted 90 wins. Josh Hamilton crushed his way to an MVP season in Texas, batting .359 and carrying the Rangers to their first World Series appearance in franchise history. Jose Bautista came out of nowhere to lead the majors with 54 home runs, forever shedding his journeyman label. Over in the National League, the Phillies built a shutdown trio with Halladay, Cole Hamels, and a newly acquired Roy Oswalt. The Reds won the Central thanks to Joey Votto's MVP season. Steven Strasburg debuted in Washington as the most hyped-up pitching prospect of all time and delivered, striking out 14 Pirates in front of a sold-out crowd and turning the Nationals into must-watch TV. And the Braves, in Bobby Cox's farewell tour, scraped into the playoffs with a wild-card berth. But the real story was in San Francisco. The Giants had an eclectic
Future
group.
Giants
Two-time
GM.
Cy Young Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, rookie Buster Posey.
Not gonna lie, just to add a quick commentary on Buster Posey, like, what do you guys think, how do you guys think he's performed so far as the San Francisco GM? I know it started off with a lot of hype, but the way the team has looked, especially after the Rafael Devers trade, has been, people have been giving him the side eye ever since then. Especially, he's hired the new manager, was it Tony Vitello? And he hasn't performed too well since becoming manager. So I would definitely like to know what you guys are thinking about Buster Posey and his tenure so far as GM.
Posey and closer Brian Wilson, who was more famous for his beard than his pitching. And the postseason delivered. Halladay's no-hitter set the tone, but the Giants outdueled the Phillies in a low-scoring NLCS. The Rangers stunned the Yankees in the ALCS behind Hamilton's bat and Cliff Lee's brilliance. But in the World Series, the Giants pitching overwhelmed Texas. Lincecum outdueled Lee in Game 1 and then again in Game 5. Edgar Renteria, improbably, became the hero with a 3-run homer in the clincher. The Giants won their first title since 1954, and a dynasty was quietly born. Halladay's postseason no-hitter is still talked about today, and the era of pitching was officially back. But 2011 was emotionally whiplashing. No lead, whether in a single game or the divisional big picture, was safe. And fittingly, the World Series that year delivered one of the greatest endings the sport had ever seen. As for the regular season insanity, the Red Sox and Braves both collapsed epically in September. Boston, sitting comfortably atop the AL wildcard race, went 7-20 in the final month, culminating in a walk-off Orioles win and a Rays miracle comeback in the final day of the season. Dan Johnson, of all people, hit a season-saving home run for Tampa Bay in the 9th inning. Meanwhile, the Braves fumbled away a huge wild-card lead in the NL, letting the Cardinals slip into the playoffs. The Rangers and Tigers rolled through their divisions with powerful offenses. Justin Verlander had one of the greatest pitching seasons of the modern era, 24 wins, a 2.40 ERA.
I feel like not enough people talk about Miggy and his Triple Crown year. Like, they give Miguel Cabrera all of his props, but just, we're in 2026. It's been like what, 14 years since he won his triple crown, and nobody's done it since. And nobody, I feel like people don't give him enough props for that specifically. You know what I mean? He was the first guy since, what was it, Ted Williams before that, to win the triple crown. So it's definitely a big deal. You know what I mean?
250 strikeouts, winning both the AL Cy Young and MVP. Over in the National League, Ryan Braun powered the Brewers to the NL Central crown with a .332 average and 33 home runs, earning NL MVP honors. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw officially arrived as the Dodgers' ace, winning NL Cy Young behind a 21-5 record and a 2.28 ERA. In the NL, the Phillies dominated with a rotation of 4 aces, but ran headfirst into the hottest team alive. The Cardinals barely made the postseason, but once they got in, they were a force. Chris Carpenter outdueled Halladay in a Game 5 classic in the NLDS. Then David Freese and Albert Pujols both demolished the Brewers in the NLCS. The World Series between the Rangers and Cardinals was tight from the jump. Texas came within 1 strike, twice, of winning their first title in Game 6. But St. Louis would not go away. Freese tripled with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the bottom of the 9th to tie it. Lance Berkman delivered another game-tying hit in the 10th, answered by a Josh Hamilton home run, but then in the bottom of the 11th, Freese walked it off with a home run into dead center. And Game 7 almost felt preordained. The Cardinals won 6-2. Pujols got his 2nd ring, Freese won World Series MVP, and the Rangers were left with one of the most brutal scars in baseball history. The Cardinals' miracle run became immortalized.
Crazy to
the Rangers never quite redeemed themselves for that loss, at least not this decade. And baseball fans realize they might never see another Game 6 like that again. But in 2012, a couple of generational hitters arrived, sluggers reemerged in a way that hadn't been seen in years, and a 37-year-old knuckleballer dominated the league. And at the center of the chaos, one scrappy team with pitching and chemistry managed to pull off one of the most memorable playoff runs of the decade. But the regular season had its own kind of madness. In Detroit, Miguel Cabrera delivered something thought to be extinct. A triple crown season.
There it is.
.330 average, 44 home runs, 139 RBI. It was the first triple crown since 1967, and he was named AL MVP for it. And Mike Trout was rewriting the rookie record books. In his first full season, Trout hit .326 with 30 home runs and 49 stolen bases, putting up one of the greatest all-around seasons in baseball history and unanimously winning AL Rookie of the Year.
Man, I know they beat this topic down, plenty of times, but it is insane. Like when Mike Trout first came up, I thought the dude was gonna end up with 600 home runs, over 300 average. The dude was gonna be everything, we imagine out of a baseball player. And it's crazy to think now, all these years later, how it's literally all been sapped just by injury. He's having a great resurgence season right now, but I mean, he's 35. I was just reading an article about him, the resurgence season he's having, and when I read that the dude's about to be 35, I'm like, what? Where has the time gone? The fact that Mike Trout's 35 and just, it's crazy the potential that, I mean, he's been a great player, Hall of Famer regardless, but it's crazy to think the numbers that he's left on the table due to injury, unfortunately.
Meanwhile, in the NL, Buster Posey was the steady hand guiding the Giants. After missing most of 2011 with a brutal injury, he returned and hit .336 with 24 home runs to claim the NL MVP. The AL Cy Young went to David Price, who dominated for the Rays with a 20-5 record and a 2.56 ERA. And in Seattle, Felix Hernandez threw the 23rd perfect game in MLB history, and actually the 3rd of the 2012 season. But it would be the final one baseball would see for a decade. In the NL, knuckleballer R.A. Dickey won the Cy Young for the Mets, putting up 230 strikeouts and baffling hitters every 5 days. But the highlight of the Mets season came when Johan Santana threw 134 pitches and practically sacrificed his career to give them their first no-hitter in franchise history. Over in Washington, Bryce Harper burst onto the scene as a teenage phenom, helping the Nationals secure the best record in baseball. Oakland and its ragtag roster, expected to finish dead last, stormed past Texas to steal the AL West on the final day. But October again belonged to the Giants. First, they fell behind 2-0 in the NLDS to the Reds, then stormed back with 3 straight road wins. In the NLCS, they faced elimination against the Cardinals, trailing 3-1 before rattling off 3 straight wins again, including a Game 7 blowout. And the World Series was not close. The Tigers came in rested and stacked with Justin Verlander ready to dominate. Instead, the Giants erased them in 4 games. Verlander got rocked in Game 1 by Pablo Sandoval, who homered 3 times, only the 4th player in history to do so in a World Series game. Marco Scutaro, Matt Cain, Posey, Sandoval, they all chipped in. But it was the pitching that turned Detroit's offense to dust. The Giants claimed their 2nd title in 3 years. Miguel Cabrera's Triple Crown went into the history books, and R.A. Dickey proved a knuckleballer could still rule for at least 1 year. But in 2013, tragedy struck the heart of Boston with the Boston Marathon bombing in April. Nonetheless, the regular season turned as usual. But when October came, the energy was different in Fenway Park. The season itself was filled with some new blood. Andrew McCutchen finally got the superstar credit he deserved, batting .317 with 21 home runs and elite defense to claim the NL MVP, leading the Pirates to their first postseason appearance since 1992. In the AL, Miguel Cabrera kept his throne by winning a 2nd consecutive AL MVP, hitting .348 with 44 home runs, outslugging even his Triple Crown season from a year prior. At the same time, Chris Davis of the Orioles hit 53 home runs. On the mound, the 2 aces of the decade reigned supreme. Max Scherzer emerged as the Tigers' new ace, going 21-3 with a 2.90 ERA to snag the AL Cy Young, while Clayton Kershaw cruised to another NL Cy Young, leading the majors with a ridiculous 1.83 ERA and 232 strikeouts for the Dodgers, who also unleashed a midseason storm called Yasiel Puig, a 22-year-old Cuban phenom who hit .436 in his first month and electrified the sport. Puig mania.
And I wrote an article about Yasiel Puig on my Mic'd Up Mind Substack. And when you look back at the dude's career, it definitely feels like it was a lot longer than what it was. I think he had played like 7 MLB seasons by the end of it. And while he was definitely a hothead, I feel like he caught a lot more flack than he should have. I don't know if it's controversial or not, but I feel like the dude brought a different type of energy to the game. An energy almost that we love to see in the World Baseball Classic. So I don't get why he was penalized to the point where essentially he was blackballed from the league. I mean, I think now at this point he's in the Mexican league, but he's up for trial, to go to prison or something like that. But the dude definitely should have and could have played 2 or 3 more MLB seasons, definitely ended prematurely.
It took over and revived the Dodgers into title contenders almost overnight. But come October, the Cardinals, buoyed by a dominant pitching staff and clutch hitting, powered their way to the NL pennant again by outlasting the Pirates and then the Dodgers. In the AL...
Sorry, I don't mean to go on a rampant, but at the end of the day, I feel like Yasiel Puig was the very beginning. He ushered in the dominant Dodger era. You know what I mean? 2013 was the very beginning of them winning all of these NL West titles, and which led to, obviously, like 8 years later, they win their first World Championship. And now in 2026, they have 3 since 2020. So...
the Red Sox, fueled by David Ortiz's leadership and a new cast of lunch pail guys like Shane Victorino, Mike Napoli, and Johnny Gomes, beat the Rays and then outslugged the defending champion Tigers in a tense ALCS. And the World Series became Boston's mission. After falling behind early in the series, Big Papi decided to just put the team on his back. He hit .688 against the Cardinals with a 1.948 OPS. Boston clinched the title at Fenway Park, their first championship clinched at home since 1918. David Ortiz cemented himself as a Boston icon, McCutchen lifted the Pirates back to national relevance, and Kershaw tightened his grip on the title of Best Pitcher Alive. But 2014 was peak small ball era of the 2010s, and the year that a redneck pitcher would turn into a baseball folk hero. The regular season was a showcase of young, hungry teams breaking through. We finished with the best record in baseball behind Mike Trout's first MVP season, where he hit .207 with 36 home runs and 111 RBI to finally claim AL MVP after 2 near misses. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw had one of the greatest seasons the pitcher has ever produced, winning both NL MVP and Cy Young after posting a 21-3 record with a 1.77 ERA and throwing a no-hitter that came within a single Hanley Ramirez error of being perfect. while Corey Kluber broke out for the Indians to win his first AL Cy Young. In the American League, the Royals shocked the world. Kansas City hadn't made the playoffs since 1985, but this group, built around contact hitting and bullpen dominance, caught fire. Eric Hosmer, Lorenzo Cain, and Alex Gordon led a lineup that refused to strike out. Greg Holland, Wade Davis, and Kelvin Herrera formed an uncrackable bullpen trio. Over in the NL, the Giants were lurking once again. They didn't win their division, the Dodgers did, but they got in as a wild card, and that was all they needed. Bumgarner threw a complete game shutout against the Pirates in the wild card game, and San Francisco never looked back. But the Royals ripped off an 8-0 start to October, sweeping the A's, Angels, and Orioles. The Giants beat the Nationals in a 4-game NLDS that included an 18-inning marathon, then outlasted the Cardinals to punch their ticket. And the World Series was quite stressful for everyone. 7 games where every run mattered. Bumgarner started games 1 and 5 and dominated. In Game 7, on just a few days' rest, he came out of the bullpen in the 5th and threw 5 shutout innings to close it himself in 68 pitches. The Giants won 3-2, and Bumgarner's world...
How insane it was, like, that run. Like, essentially, anytime the Giants got in trouble in 2014 and during the postseason, they would use Bumgarner. Just got up, got warm, and went right out and just dominated. He did whatever he wanted with every single hitter that postseason. I think to this day, since then, obviously, so it's been like, what, 12 years since then, whatever it's been, 12, 14 years. This dude, I don't think I've seen a postseason pitching run as dominant as Bumgarner in 2014. That dude it was definitely a pleasure to watch him.
Series MVP was never in doubt. His postseason, which consisted of 52 2/3 innings and a 1.03 ERA, was one of the best ever. Mike Trout officially owned the league from the hitter side. Kershaw was historically great, but October disappointments started to pile up. And the Royals, though crushed, were not done yet. The 2015 regular season had no shortage of wild stories. Josh Donaldson crushed 41 home runs and drove in 123 for the Blue Jays, carrying Toronto back to relevance and earning AL MVP. Meanwhile, Bryce Harper finally ascended into true superstardom, batting .330 with 42 home runs and an 11.09 OPS, easily capturing NL MVP, putting up one of the best offensive seasons by a 22-year-old in history. But on the mound, 2 obscure names took home the most.
2015 becomes the year where everybody goes from just like line drives, to now it's launch angle and get on base. You know what I mean? Well, it was gonna get on base before then, but mostly launch angle. And although in the public, because I don't know him personally, I don't know if you guys know him personally, although publicly he's known as an a-hole, I mean, Josh Donaldson needs a little more credit as the godfather of the launch angle. Before 2015, really he was doing in 2013 as well with the A's. But before 2015, who do you recall that put as much emphasis on launch angle as Donaldson did? Bautista in 2010, he had just come up off of changing his whole swing, going from literally a quadruple A player to a major star. And that was with the help of launch angle, changing his launch angle for his swing. But Donaldson was the one who brought all the hype. He was the one who did all the interviews and gave all of the credit for his late career resurgence, because he was a late bloomer, he credited it to changing his swing and to launch angle. And ever since then, people have adapted it to their own swings,
Prestigious awards. Dallas Keuchel of the Astros posted a 20-8 record with a 2.48 ERA to win AL Cy Young, while Jake Arrieta delivered one of the filthiest second halves ever for the Cubs, finishing with a 1.77 ERA, 22 wins, and a no-hitter to claim NL Cy Young, edging out Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw's 301 strikeouts. The regular season standings delivered surprises everywhere. The Mets, behind a terrifying rotation led by Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, and Noah Syndergaard, along with a red-hot Yoenis Cespedes acquired at the trade deadline, stormed back to steal the NL East from the heavily favored Nationals. The Cubs' youth movement, headlined by Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, and Addison Russell, was ahead of schedule and crashing into October. The Blue Jays, fueled by a midseason trade for David Price, along with the thunder of Donaldson, Batista, and Edwin Encarnacion, set Canada on fire with a late charge. But the Royals led the AL virtually wire to wire, fueled by a relentless lineup that put the ball in play and that incredible bullpen.
Yeah.
The playoffs were iconic. Jose Bautista's
There's a
bat flip
legendary
after his
swing.
ALDS clinching
Bat
homer
flip,
against
baby.
Texas became an instant baseball artifact. The Cubs and Mets staged an NLCS full of youthful fireworks, though it was Daniel Murphy who stole the show, homering in 6 straight postseason games. And the World Series came down to the Mets and Royals, 2 underdogs with all the momentum in the world. But Kansas City suffocated New York with their formula. Foul off pitches, pressure defenses, and shut down the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
And crap.
In Game
defense.
5, down 2 runs in the 9th, the Royals tied it up. Then in extra innings, they blew it open. 5 runs later, they made up for their 2014 loss and hoisted their first title since 1985. In the aftermath, the Royals' redemption arc was complete. Harper leveled up into a generational force, and the Chicago Cubs signaled their time was coming. And 2016 was one of the most important seasons in MLB history. The Chicago Cubs were stacked and dominant,
great
but
year
still
overall.
carrying 108 years of baggage. Meanwhile, across the league, the old guard was shifting. Veterans were fading out, young stars were exploding in, and a legendary slugger was making his final bow. It was a season that felt too scripted to be real, and still outdid itself in the end. The Cubs were really good in 2015, winning 97 games before losing to the Mets in the NLCS. But in 2016, they took things to another level, led by a generational young core of Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javi Baez, and Addison Russell. They finished.
It's crazy to think that out of that entire core, Kyle Schwarber was the guy with the least potential. We knew he had amazing pop, but everything else was like, Dude came up as a catcher, terrible defensively, moved to the outfield, destroyed his ACL or whatever it was, his first year playing the outfield. So out of all those guys, Bryant, Rizzo, Simmons, Angelton, I think that this dude, it's amazing to see that all these years later, Kyle Schwarber was the dude who ends up honestly with the best career. Like, the dude's still tearing it up for Philly.
103-58, the best record in baseball, despite losing Kyle Schwarber to a torn ACL in April. Bryant mashed
said
39 home
Angelton,
runs and
man. It
hit
was
292,
Addison. That's
earning
what I
NL MVP
meant.
honors and looking like the next face of baseball.
Addison Russell.
In the AL, Mike Trout reminded everyone that even when you got used to his greatness, he was still the best player in the game. He hit .315 with 29 home runs, 30 steals, and a league-leading 10.4 WAR, winning his second MVP and making it look casual. On the mound, the Cubs' pitching was just as nasty. Kyle Hendricks led the majors with a 2.13 ERA, but the Cy Youngs went elsewhere. Rick Porcello shocked everyone by winning AL Cy Young for the Red Sox, going 22-4, though the award probably should have gone to Justin Verlander. While Max Scherzer dominated for the Nationals with a 2.96 ERA and a ridiculous 284 strikeouts, easily claiming the NL Cy Young. Elsewhere, the Indians were surging under Terry Francona. Despite injuries to key starters like Carlos Carrasco and Danny Salazar, Cleveland's bullpen turned into an elite unit, led by Andrew Miller and Cody Allen. Francisco Lindor blossomed into a star, Jose Ramirez broke out, and in a year that featured the Cavs breaking Cleveland's NBA title drought, the Indians looked ready to do the same in baseball. Meanwhile, David Ortiz took his final lap around baseball. In his age 40 season, Big Papi hit .315 with 38 home runs and 127 RBI, putting up one of the greatest farewell seasons in MLB history. And the Mets gave us one of the most legendary manager meltdowns ever, with Terry Collins erupting after Noah Syndergaard was ejected for throwing at Chase Utley. Revenge for Utley's brutal playoff slide that broke Ruben Tejada's leg in 2015. But as the regular season wound down, baseball suffered a devastating loss. Jose Fernandez, the 24-year-old ace of the Miami Marlins, was killed in a tragic boating accident. Though he was certainly not without blame for the accident, Fernandez was one of the best pitchers in the game. His death sent shockwaves throughout the entire sport. Teams across the league honored him in emotional tributes, and the Marlins, brokenhearted, gathered to play their first game without him, where D. Gordon hit a home run in his memory. Then the playoffs delivered heroics. The Cubs survived the Giants and the Dodgers, and the Indians took down the Red Sox and Blue Jays. Then came the World Series featuring the Cubs and Indians. 108-year drought versus 68-year drought. It felt cruel that somebody just had to lose. After trading wins, the series went to Game 7, one of the greatest Game 7s or just games ever. A late Cubs lead evaporated. Rajai Davis hit a game-tying home run in the 8th. Rain delayed the start of extras. Then, the Cubs rallied behind a Ben Zobrist RBI double and held on to end the 108-year drought. Cleveland came painfully close, but the Cubs rewrote baseball history, and Kris Bryant became one of the biggest names in the sport in the process. But come 2017, home runs were flying out at increasing rates and strikeouts were soaring too. Some found it thrilling, while others found it unwatchable. Fans didn't know it yet, but the seeds of one of baseball's great scandals were already buried in the soil. It was the year of power, emotion, and ultimately a championship that would be remembered, but for all the wrong reasons. The regular season belonged to the Sluggers. The league set a new all-time record for home runs in a season with 6,105, smashing the previous mark from the steroid era. It was the official birth of the launch angle revolution.
See, he says 2017 was the official birth, but that's not true. 2015 was 110% the official birth of the launch angle era. Now, 2017 was significant, but it was significant because that was the first year that the MLB started playing with their baseballs. They've even admitted it. You can go back and read plenty of articles on many credible sites, and there's been a study that they did where the MLB would use certain baseballs for certain games, and it was like messing with the cork of the ball, something with the cork in between there. Now, I'm not the most informed on it, but I do know that it was a fact that they've been playing with the baseball since 2017. That's why there were spikes in 17, and there was also, pertaining to the 2010s, there was also another spike in 2019, including, I'm sorry everybody, the Aaron Judge fans, I apologize, but he was the main star of this article and this study, and it was that specifically these doctored baseballs were used in postseason games, and they were used during Yankee home games. I'll leave it at that. You guys can do all the research you want. I'm not giving an opinion. I'm simply giving what the study said. And the study said that during the 2019 season, it was particularly used during Yankee home games and postseason games.
Aaron Judge captured the heart of New York, blasting a rookie record 52 home runs and running away with the Rookie of the Year. But it was little Jose Altuve who stood the tallest, hitting 346 for the Astros and winning AL MVP. In the National League, Giancarlo Stanton put up a freakish 59 home run season for the Marlins to grab his MVP, as one of the lone shining stars for an otherwise sorry Marlins team. On the pitching side, Corey Kluber dominated for Cleveland with a 2.25 ERA and 265 strikeouts, winning his second Cy Young over Chris Sale, who punched out 308 batters in his first Boston season. And Max Scherzer claimed his second straight NL Cy Young, striking out 268 and posting a 2.5 ERA for the Nats. And the playoffs were interesting to say the least. The Astros had been the laughingstock of the league over the first half of the decade, but their rebuild was looking beyond successful as they beat the Red Sox and then the Yankees in an emotional 7-game ALCS, fueled by clutch hitting and
for 5'6", Altuve can crush the baseball.
Deep pitching performances. The Dodgers, led by a stacked roster featuring Clayton Kershaw, Cody Bellinger, and Justin Turner, stormed through the National League, finally getting Kershaw a shot at a ring. The World Series between the Dodgers and Astros was a heavyweight fight in every sense. Games 2 and 5 became instant classics. Extra inning marathons filled with back and forth bombs, blown saves, and highlight reel moments. Game 5 alone saw 25 runs scored in 10 innings. The Astros won it all in Game 7, riding a fast start and a dominant bullpen performance to capture the first championship in franchise history. At the time, it felt like the crowning of a feel-good story. Houston rebuilding from scratch to reach the top. But 2 years later, the sign-stealing scandal broke. It was revealed that the Astros had used an illegal electronic system to steal signs throughout 2017. The title became permanently tainted, and the feel-good narrative crumbled.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to pause so much, but what did Altuve say at the time? My wife gets jealous. Yeah.
But in 2018, from start to finish, one team played like it was operating on a different frequency. While the rest of the league wrestled with the launch angle revolution and record strikeouts, the Boston Red Sox ran through everyone like a buzzsaw. It was one of the rare seasons where the best team actually won it all. Under first-year manager Alex Cora, the Red Sox posted a franchise-best 108 wins, blitzing through the AL East. Mookie Betts led the charge with a .346 average, 32 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and a Gold Glove in right field, earning him a well-deserved AL MVP. His combination of power, speed, and defense was simply unmatched. In the NL, Christian Yelich exploded after being dealt to Milwaukee, hitting .326 with 36 home runs and 110 RBI for the Brewers to steal NL MVP honors. His second half was absurd.
I didn't expect
He nearly won the NL Triple Crown, and Milwaukee rode his bat all the way to the NLCS. But pitching was still alive and well, too. Blake Snell of the Rays stunned the league, posting a 21-5 record with a 1.89 ERA to win the AL Cy Young, and Jacob deGrom made an even bigger statement in the NL, winning the Cy Young despite a 10-9 record by putting up an absurd 1.7 ERA and 269 strikeouts for a Mets team that gave him no run support. While Max Scherzer, who tallied 300 strikeouts, placed second in voting, becoming the third pitcher of the decade to hit 300 strikeouts without winning the Cy Young. And of course, 2018 also introduced something baseball had not seen in 100 years, a two-way superstar. But Shohei Ohtani's career didn't start in fairy tale fashion. After a rough spring training, where he looked overmatched at the plate and shaky on the mound, critics said he wasn't ready for the...
I remember people saying that, he could barely hit high school pitching. Like, look at me now.
Majors, calling for him to start the season in the minor leagues, and insisting it was foolish to have ever thought he could succeed as both a hitter and pitcher at the MLB level. But when the real game started, Ohtani made those doubts look ridiculous. In his first week, he homered in 3 straight games and took a perfect game into the 7th inning in his first home pitching start. He finished the year hitting .285 with 22 home runs in just 326 at-bats, and struck out 63 batters in 51 innings as a pitcher before Tommy John, of course winning Rookie of the Year. And more than the stats, Ohtani made baseball feel magical again. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Ronald Acuna Jr. burst onto the scene, smashing 26 home runs and injecting the Braves with electric energy on his way to winning NL Rookie of the Year. And in Washington, 19-year-old Juan Soto arrived, showing patience and power beyond his years. He hit .292 with 22 homers and a .923 OPS, instantly becoming one of the most dangerous hitters in the game. To end the season in the National League, the Cubs and Brewers tied atop the NL Central and had to play a tiebreaker, which Milwaukee won. The Dodgers and Rockies tied for the NL West. The Dodgers won that one, and October was officially a free-for-all. The playoffs had their moments. The Red Sox fended off the Yankees and then dismantled the defending champion Astros in the ALCS, with Jackie Bradley Jr. and Rafael Devers delivering clutch performances. Over in the National League, the Dodgers survived a 7-game fight against the Brewers to reach their second straight World Series. But the fall class...
The single most dominant team of the 2010s was the 2018 Boston Red Sox. And I don't think that there are many, if any, baseball fans that know baseball that would argue that.
Classic wasn't close. The Red Sox overwhelmed Los Angeles. Even the wild 18-inning marathon win for the Dodgers in Game 3 only delayed the inevitable. In Game 5, Steve Pearce, an unlikely hero, homered twice and sealed Boston's fourth championship since 2004, making them the winningest franchise of the century to this point. But in 2019, Major League Baseball had the 2010s go out with a bang. In the most prolific year of the juiced ball, home runs flew at historic rates. Everyone knew something was weird with the baseballs, but most weren't complaining. And amid the noise, the most unlikely World Series champion of the decade found a way through. We can start with the fact that the long ball was absurd. MLB teams combined to hit 6,776 home runs, shattering the previous record by over 600. Entire lineups were built to hit bombs or die trying. And through it all, a few players shined the brightest. Mike Trout added another absurd season to his resume, batting .291 with 45 homers and a .1083 OPS, winning his third MVP. And in the NL, it was Cody Bellinger who broke through, hitting .305 with 47 bombs and Gold Glove defense to claim his award. On the mound, Justin Verlander turned back the clock with a 21-6 record, a .258 ERA, and 300 strikeouts at age 36. Edging out teammate Garrett Cole for the Cy Young, who punched out 326 batters himself. In the NL, Jacob deGrom continued to be invincible, winning his second straight Cy Young with a 2.43 ERA and 255 Ks, despite the Mets once again wasting his brilliance. 2019 also brought us two rookies for the ages, one of which was Pete Alonso, who smashed another MLB rookie record 53 home runs for the Mets, injecting life into Queens with every moonshot. But the regular season belonged to the juggernauts. The Astros, Yankees, Twins, and Dodgers all topped 100 wins. Houston looked terrifying. Verlander, Garrett Cole, and Zach Greinke to go along with an offense led by Alex Bregman and a rookie Yordan Alvarez, who blasted 27 home runs in just 87 games while putting up a 1067 OPS, easily winning AL Rookie of the Year. With Alvarez and Alonso both taking home Rookie of the Year honors, we might have seen the greatest rookie slugger duo the game has ever produced. But in October, the regular season was rendered irrelevant. The Nationals, who had watched Bryce Harper flee town for the Phillies over the winter and were 19-31 in late May, crawled into a wild card spot and started playing with house money. They beat the Brewers in the wild card game with a late comeback, then stunned the 106-win Dodgers in the NLDS thanks to a Howie Kendrick grand slam in extra innings. They swept the Cardinals in the NLCS, and suddenly, a team that looked dead in May was 4 wins from greatness. Houston won the AL thanks to that iconic Altuve home run, and the World Series between the Astros and Nationals was bizarre. The road team won every game. Houston dominated in Washington, Washington flipped the script in Houston. Max Scherzer, who couldn't lift his arm the day before, gutted through Game 7. Kendrick delivered again with a clutch opposite field homer off the foul pole. And the Nationals, who watched the most important player in their franchise's history walk out the door less than 1 year earlier, were champions for the first time ever. And Steven Strasburg earned World Series MVP thanks to 14 exceptional innings and 2 wins. In the aftermath, Garrett Cole left Houston for a record-setting deal with the Yankees. MLB's juiced ball got a hard look, and an incredible decade ended in, well, incredible fashion. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, I think you'll like this one.
Yeah, so I think the 2010s was a great decade for MLB, and it goes to show, like, it's funny how it started off, definitely a pitcher-dominated sport, and by the end of it, you had MLB doing everything they can to kind of bring some excitement back to the game, and it became home run galore, So once again, that was the 2010s explained by Kai the Baseball Kid. If you want to go, I'll go ahead and link this video in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more reactions. Once again, we react to literally anything and everything as long as it interests you and me, and we'll go ahead and react to it. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share with a friend, and have that friend share with a friend. Have a great day.
Thanks for watching. Let me know what you'd like to watch next.